at least you can follow online. We share the link with the faithful, the group of the faithful. And if you are not on this group, you can let me know. I can also share with you the link. If you are sick one day, it can happen. Or if you know someone who cannot come for catechism for some reasons, but he wants to start, he wants to do something, you can share with him this link. Before we start, a few updates. We have seen today that we have a market just outside there. Maybe you are asking yourself why. We are trying to support our vocations. You know what is a vocation? There are some young men, young ladies who want to give their life to God. Or in the religious life, we have already sent 3.5. There is one who is about to go 4 ladies to Italy to a congregation of sisters. The same congregation should come here next year. Hopefully we will have some Kenyans. So we also have 4 brothers in Europe. Peter is about to go, and we have 4 seminarians who will become priests. Elvis, you know him. In the next 4 years, he will be priest already. And but all that has a cost, of course. Most in Europe, at least for me, my parents paid for me. I also know some people they paid for themselves because they had worked. But I know no Kenyans who are able to pay the fee. None of them. The family are not able, the youth are not able, and we are the one paying for them. At least the flight ticket in the first time. So the priority is paying everything for them. It's a huge cost, and we are not even speaking about the rest. We know in this country it's cold. You need to warm the seminary. That comes with a cost. And so, since one day we are going to benefit from what they will do for us, and they will take care of our souls. And I think it's also a duty of justice to help. That's why we are organizing this market. Next week we'll continue catechism as usual, but also wanted to invite you try to come for the 11 o'clock mass. It will be the feast of the Holy Cross. It is also the feast of our parish and of our schools. It will be a huge and beautiful day. We'll have a solemn mass. And the children of the school are also invited with their families for this day, and we'll have some conferences in the afternoon. It's also good to plan to attend them. We'll speak a bit about crisis in the church. Father Peter is willing to comment the encyclical Dignitatis Humanae, which was one of the worst texts of the Council Vatican II, and it's good to understand what has happened during this council and to understand why we are here today. And also Father Alexander will speak about the episcopal consecration made by Bishop Lefebvre in 1988. I don't tell you more. If you want to know more, come next week. But it's a very important topic. Bishop Fellet, who will come in November for the confirmation here in Holy Cross, has been ordained by Bishop Lefebvre in 1988. At the time it has been a huge case. And it's good to understand why. Because again, we live a difficult time, and we need to understand that why there is a crisis and what are the remedies to this crisis. So we'll have a big parish day next week. Come for the mass; it will be beautiful. The children will sing the mass, and after a meal and after the conferences. Father Peter is also inviting the faithful to register. You know, in many parishes, we register. Just for us, it's a way to follow up and to know you better, to know where you are in your sacramental life, so that we forget nobody. Even if you are not yet baptized and you are just a catechumen, you can already register. Okay, and lunch next week will be free. Please come. Yeah, that's very important. So lesson 16. We spoke about our Lord Jesus Christ. About himself, who he is, the second person of the Holy Trinity, one person, 2 natures, true God, true man. I would like now to speak about his mystical body, which is the Catholic Church. And the name of the topic of this lesson 16, is the Catholic Church is the only true church. I hope you're already convinced of that, and I think you are, because you will not be here today if you were not. There is only one church, and this topic is important, especially today, 2025, because we are trying to make people believe nowadays that all the churches are okay. They are just different languages which you can use to worship the same God. And that is a lie. It's not true. Okay. Protestant churches, we are not judging the Protestants themselves. God knows their heart. But their church, their doctrine is not from God. It's wrong. It's an error. And it has to be fought back. Okay. We always make a difference between the sin and the sinner, between the sickness and the sick person. If people are sick, it's not maybe it's not their fault. Maybe they are born Protestant, they are born Muslims. What can they do? They never saw a Catholic priest, they never saw a Catholic parish. They don't even see them anymore because the priests have removed the cassock nowadays, so it makes even their conversions harder. So we are not judging them, it's not their fault, but their doctrine, their religion is fake. The Protestant church is fake, and it's leading people to hell, and that's a reality, and we don't speak enough about it nowadays. There is only one church. Jesus came to found only one church, which is a Catholic church. I would like to start by reading just some part of the Gospel of St. Matthew, first of all. Whom do you say that I am? Simon Peter answered and said, You are Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answering said to him, Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Yona, because flesh and blood have not revealed it to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Jesus has established one church, and he has given a chief to this church. The first one was St. Peter. He's the first pope, and after him, other chief came, up to today, Leo XIV. Jesus has given authority to his apostles in the Catholic Church. And Jesus coming spoke to them, saying, All power is given to me in heaven and earth. Going therefore, teach you all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you all days, even to the consummation of the world. So, and in these words are important. Jesus has sent his disciples everywhere in the world to preach and to baptize. And nowadays we have stopped to do it. Okay. Nowadays we are asked to stop to do proselytism. Okay. We should not go and force people to. Of course, we should not force people. But people have stopped to preach, stopped to teach, which is a mistake. We need to be baptized to go to heaven. If Jesus is sending his apostles to the extremity of the world, it is so that they can baptize people, and everybody should be given this chance to be baptized. But without baptism, we cannot have the sanctifying grace, as you know, and without this grace, we cannot go to heaven. We cannot become a member of the Catholic Church. You can go to heaven only if you belong to the Catholic Church, only. But Jesus has given us also this assurance that he will be with us up to the end of time. He will not abandon us, even in time of crisis, like today, even in time of persecutions. God is stay with us. So first of all, can you learn to save your soul just by reading the Bible? The answer, as you know, is no. Okay, the Bible is not enough. Because certain things in the Bible can be misunderstood. And because the Bible does not include everything God taught. There are some things, part of the Bible, that can be misunderstood. As we said at the beginning, you remember, there is a story of this French guy. He wanted to hang himself. He was despaired. In French, to hang is pendre. Okay. And he spoke about his plan to a friend, and his friend told him, no, you should not do that, just open the Bible anywhere. And the first sentence which is written, you do what it's telling you to do. And it was written in French in the Bible, va et repens-toi. Repent means two things, repent or hang yourself again. Okay? And he went to hang himself. Okay? You can misunderstand the Bible. It's possible. Okay? That's why we need an official interpreter. Okay? If not, you understand it the way you want. You can even do big mistakes. Big mistake. So the Bible alone is not enough. It's one of the channels of the Revelations, so it's a very holy book, a very important book, but everything is not in the Bible. Understanding this first, that no prophecy of Scripture is made by private interpretation. St. Peter is warning his faithful. You cannot interpret the Bible the way you want, on your own. Okay? We need an official interpreter. As also, in all this, it is what St. Paul said, in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are certain things hard to be understood, which the unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures to their own destruction. There are some parts of the Bible difficult to understand. Maybe you could read the book, the Song of Song or Canticle of Canticle. How should you interpret this book? Okay. There are many people nowadays, they say we should interpret it in the literary way and only that. And so it's becoming a love story, and it's a bit strange to have it in the Bible. But the Catholic Church is telling us we should interpret it in the allegoric way, and it represents the union of the soul and with God, which is another approach. But if you don't have an official interpreter to tell you how to interpret and understand these books, then you can be misled. Okay. If you just read the book of Genesis without faith as it is, you can be scandalized by what is inside. There are so many awful stories in the book of Genesis because it's speaking about the life just after the original sin. We need guidance. We need guidance. So that is the first stone of this, the first principle we need to understand. The Bible alone is not enough, and we cannot interpret the Bible alone. We need someone who can teach us the meaning, the teaching of this Bible. What did Jesus do to make sure that his teaching will never be misunderstood? He established a church. The house of God, which is a church of the living God, the pillar and ground of the truth. So Jesus wanted to make sure his revelation will never change. The same doctrine that was taught 2,000 years ago. Can you close the door, please? The same doctrine that was taught 2,000 years ago is the same that has to be taught today, and it cannot change. But because with time things are always changing, we need an institution that can protect this revelation. You have all seen that, I'm sure, especially parents. You give permission to one of your children. For example, your child has asked you, can I go outside to buy potatoes? Okay, too. And you say yes, and after the child go and tell his brother, Mom said it's okay, we can go and play football outside. He has already changed the meaning of your permission. So, or you teach something to people, and after someone else who heard you will speak to someone else about what you said, and this someone else will speak to someone else, and this someone else to someone else, and in between, what you said has been changed completely. And after 1 week, you hear that you have said something, and you say, maybe I never said that. So you can see the doctrine, if we don't have someone to check, can change. So we need an official interpreter. We need someone an institution that can make sure the doctrine of Jesus will never change. And this is the Catholic Church. This is the goal of the Catholic Church, to protect the revelation of God. To protect, to make sure it can be shared with the other generations, to make sure it remains intact, and to protect against those who are trying to change it. The Church had to condemn Nestorius, to condemn Arius, the first heretic in the early Church. The Church had to condemn Luther, who was changing the religion completely. The Church continued to condemn. Sometimes the Church doesn't like to condemn, but the Church has to protect and to warn people against those wolves who are dressing like sheep nowadays. It has been the goal. From the beginning of time, we have a huge battle between the devil and God, as you know. And especially since the establishment of the Catholic Church, the devil is trying to destroy this church. He has tried by all means. He has tried to attack from outside. The first persecutions, in the early church, we had at least 12,000 martyrs, Catholics killed for their faith. And the more they were killing Catholics, the more people were becoming Catholic. The blood of Christians is the seed of Christianity, as we used to say. So they understood that we have to stop. Okay, but what should we do? Instead of killing the body, let us kill the souls. That is what people have tried to do. And nowadays, since you cannot destroy the church from outside, let's destroy it from inside. And this is what we are witnessing today. Some people are trying to destroy the church from inside. Okay. You have people who are Freemason, or communist, who pretend to be very good Catholics. They become priests, and once they are priest teacher in university, in seminaries, now they can spread their poison. And it is what we are witnessing today. Some priests are preaching bad doctrines. The church has been infiltrated. The church will come out of this crisis again because God is there. But you can see people are trying to destroy the church. When did Jesus establish his church? 2,000 years ago. How many churches did Jesus establish? Only one. Upon this rock, T-H-I-S, and not T-H-E-S-E. Okay? He just didn't say upon these rocks. He said about this rock. I will build my church, and not my churches. There shall be one fold and one shepherd, only one. It's very clear, very clear. How long did Jesus plan his church to last? Until the end of the world. I am with you all days, even to the consummation of the world. How did Jesus establish his church? By giving his authority to the apostles to rule and to teach. They have these two powers, to rule, to make laws in the church, and to teach the doctrine, the true one. Teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. So they are teaching what? They are teaching the revelation of God, the 10 Commandments, what we need to do to go to heaven, and they rule. The Pope makes some rules. As you know, we have also the commandments of the church that are here to help us to do the commandment of God. They are not new commandments. The church wants to help us to fulfill the commandment of God, and that's why she adds some laws. For example, the church wants to help us to fulfill, to sanctify the Lord, the day of the Lord. That's why we have to go to Mass on Sunday and days of obligation. This is a commandment of the church, helping us to fulfill the third commandment of God: you shall sanctify the day of the Lord. The church is asking us not to eat meat on Fridays, to do abstinence, to help us to do penance. It's very little, but the church wants to do at least that. And it's very little. We have to do penance in our life, but if we don't have a law sometimes pushing us a little bit, we will never do penance. We'll always find an excuse. Yesterday I played football, I'm very hungry, let me eat meat today. Okay, I need strength. If not, I will faint and I will not be able to do my duty. We always find excuses. The church has set some laws to help us to do what is right. The church has been given the power by Jesus to do so. The church has not been given the power to change the 10 Commandments. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. Divorce is not allowed, and it will never be allowed. And we don't give the communion to people who divorced and are living with someone else. And that will never change. And the church doesn't have the power to change it. The church just has the power to make the 10 Commandments of God being applied together with all the rest of the revelation. Did the people have to obey the apostles? Yes, they had to, because they spoke with the authority of Jesus. Jesus has given his authority to his apostles. Who listens to you, who hears you, hears me. And who despises you, despises me. Jesus told that to his disciples. If you despise your bishop, if you despise your parish priest, it's like you're despising Jesus. And therefore, to disobey them will be a sin. To disobey them in matter of faith, of course. Okay, if your bishop is telling you you must eat ugali every day and you don't do it, you don't commit a sin, because now the bishop has not been given his power to teach you how to cook. Pope Francis used to support Argentina, okay, the football team. If he asked me to support Argentina for the final of the World Cup of football, I will not follow. Okay, but you understand why it's not disobedience. Here we are speaking about faith. In matter of faith, we have, and moral, we have to obey our superiors. But when they speak against the faith or against the moral, or when they speak about something else, now we don't obey, of course. It's logical. Their authority has been given to them so that they can lead people to heaven and teach the true doctrine. If the priest is teaching another doctrine, if he's using his authority to mislead people, we will not follow him, of course. Luther was a priest, became Protestant. Should we obey Luther? No. Okay. You understand why? Because he has changed his doctrine, and we will not follow him. But it's difficult to find the right balance. Some people say because there is a crisis, I do not obey to anybody and I do what I want. It's excessive. We still need to respect the authority. And even if an authority says a mistake, he is still the chief and he still deserves all our respect. If our father is sick, or even, let's say, he's becoming bad, he still remains my father and I still love him and I still want him to get better. The same with the authority. Exactly the same. So we need to obey. But we should not be blind. I spoke one day with someone who was completely blind in spirit. I asked him, whatever comes from above, I do. Whatever. So if we're asking you to steal, you do it? Yes, of course. This is blind obedience. And it's not good at all. Okay. If the father is asking his daughter to be prostitute to make money for the house, does she has to obey? He said yes. And of course, you should not obey to such an order. You cannot do what is bad. Our obedience should not be blind. We obey, and we know why. We obey because these people have been given authority to lead us to heaven. Did the authority of the apostles die with them? No. It continued. They handed down their authority to others since Jesus instituted his church to last until the end of the world. Some of the men who received authority from the apostles were Matthias. We see it in the Act of the Apostle. He's the one who has been chosen to take the place of Judas. Paul and Barnabas. Timothy, Silas, Silvanus, Titus, Luke, Mark, all them became priests and bishops, some of them. Which church today has this same authority? The Catholic Church. It is the same from the beginning. Protestant will tell you that the Catholic Church is an invention of Constantine the Great. It's an invention of the Roman Empire. It is in the 4th century that the Catholic Church started. I was told that in South Africa in last January. Okay. No, the Catholic Church has been established by Jesus from the beginning. Constantine, what did he do, Constantine? He just put an end to the persecutions. He said, from now we stop to kill Catholics in the street. The Catholic Church, because it is the only church established by Jesus Christ. How do you know the Catholic Church is the only true church? Very good question. How do you know? History shows that it is the only church that can be traced back to Christ. Protestantism started in the 16th century, 1,600 years after Christ. Luther one day woke up and said, I know everything, the Catholic Church is wrong. After 1,000, it means that during 1,600 years, people have been misunderstanding the teaching of Christ. It's a bit proud, this man, a bit proud. Yes.
What about the
Orthodox Church, that they separated from the Catholic Church in the 10th century after Christ. They don't want to obey Rome, and we had a few other. They were contesting a few other points also. Maybe we'll speak about that another time. But they came the Orthodox Church started 1,000 years after Christ. So it's not an old church. It's not as old as the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church started from the beginning with Jesus and Saint Peter. Does everyone have to obey the Catholic Church? Yes, because she alone has the authority of Jesus to rule and to teach. To disobey the Catholic Church knowingly is just as much as a sin as to disobey Jesus Christ or his apostles. And we understand why. It's not because we You know, today we present the obedience to the Catholic Church as a burden. We present the Catholic Church like the Pope, the Bishop, like men thirsty of power who wants people to bow their knees in front of them. No, it's not like that at all. Why do we have to obey? To be guided. It is the same reason why a child has to obey his parents. If the child disobeys, he will be misled. He will do what is wrong, which is Jesus has given us a doctrine. This doctrine, if we don't protect it, if we don't keep it, it will be misunderstood and the faith will change. We need an institution that can protect this doctrine and give it up to us up to the end of the world, up to the end of time. This is why we need to obey. And to obey is deeply reasonable. I obey because I want to live. I obey because I want to go to heaven. I obey because I want to be guided. I'm telling you, I go sometime for some hike in Kenya, I have a guide. I'm happy to have a guide, and I'm not tempted to disobey, because if you disobey, you take the wrong path, and then you meet some hyenas or some elephants, and you are in hot soup. Okay? And it is what is happening with those who disobey to the Catholic Church. They disobey, and they are misled, and the devil take them, and they don't go to heaven. So it's deeply reasonable to obey. It is good to obey. We are not slaves when we obey. We are not slaves. Where did the Protestant churches come from? They were established by men who had no authority to start churches on their own. It's a question you could ask to a Protestant one day if he's really too insisting. I'd just ask him, who sent you? Who sent you? He will tell you the Holy Spirit. No, because they had a dream, maybe. It's not serious. They have been sent by nobody. The priests are not teaching. I am not teaching on my own. I have been sent by my hierarchy. And this hierarchy has been established by Christ 2,000 years ago. And if I would not go and teach without permission. We are not allowed to do that. The priest in the Catholic Church. We don't go and preach like that. We are always sent by someone. We belong to a church. We are attached to a hierarchy. The Protestant pastor, they just go like that in the street, take a microphone and start screaming hallelujah. But they are sent by nobody. They preach on their own, especially in Kenya. In fact, in Kenya, it's not even a problem of faith. These people want, it's a business. You open a church to make money, and that everybody knows it. I think Kenya is one of the country in the world where you have the most sects. I think there are more than 200 sects, Protestant churches. Every corner in Kawangware there is a church. Every corner. They make a lot of noise, and when you come in to see if there are many, there are just 2 people. It's a very nice business. Who sent them? They are misleading people for money. It's even worse. Who started the first Protestant church? The Protestant church was established less than 500 years ago in Germany by Martin Luther in 1520. He was a Catholic and he was even a priest, an Augustinian monk. He became a monk because he made an imprudent vow. One day he was in a forest and a huge storm came and he made a vow, if I survive, I will be a monk. And he survived, so he went to monastery. But he had never been submitted, too much independent. Eventually he left, he made his own church, of course attacked the Catholic Church, and changed everything. Removed some books of the Bible, even took time for the Protestant to decide which book was good, which book was not. At the beginning they even refused some books of the New Testament, now they accept the book of the New Testament, all of them. It's confused. Luther went to look for a wife, he found a sister in a convent, so she went out with him. This is the holy man that has started Protestantism. Okay. Usually, you judge the veracity of the religion to the holiness of its founder. Luther, Jesus Christ is holy, he is God. He's the one who started the Catholic Church. The Protestant Church has been founded by a sinner, and one of the greatest sinners here on earth. Name the founders of other leading Protestant churches. Some are here in Kenya. The Episcopalian, they started by King Henry VIII. King Henry VIII used to be a very good Catholic. He was even given the title of Defender of the Catholic Church by the Pope. Until the day King Henry wanted to change his wife, and the Pope told him, "You cannot change your wife, you are married for the best and for the worst. I cannot undo your marriage." And because of that, he left the church, he made his own church, and in this church, divorce is tolerated, is admitted. This is how Anglicanism started. The Episcopalian Church of England. The Presbyterian Church by John Knox, the Congregationalist Robert Brown. They are not all here in Kenya, but they are there in the world. The Baptist by John Smith, the Methodist by John Wesley, the Adventist, SDA, the Christian Scientist, and so many others. Today we have a lot of Pentecostal people. And you can see that all these churches are starting from the 16th century. By people, by men, by sinners, by people who are not even following the natural law, not even. To conclude, we have 5 minutes. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Maybe I can answer a few just by this conclusion. A non-Catholic who suspects that the Catholic Church is a one true Church of God and does not investigate her claims with the mind to join if her claims prove to be true, cannot be saved. Because outside of Christ's mystical body, which is the Catholic Church, there is no salvation. So we are speaking here about someone, a non-Catholic, who is telling, he has seen the Catholic Church, he's like, what if they are true? So he's asking himself this question, but he never tries to answer the question. He never tried to deep a little bit, never tried to ask a question, never tried to find an answer to his questions. He knows there is something that I should inquire, but I'm not doing it because maybe I'm enjoying my comfortable life. If I convert, I will have to change my Land Cruiser with a Vitz because I will lose my job. Or if any reason here applies. These people cannot go to heaven, meaning they will go to hell. So you understand here we speak about a non-Catholic who doesn't want to do what is in his power to change. Okay. What about now the non-Catholic who are completely ignorant? That's another question. People of good faith, we would say, who are completely ignorant. If they knew, they would do it, they would change, but they don't know. A non-Catholic who, through no fault of his own, does not realize that the Catholic Church is the only true church, and who dies with sanctifying grace in his soul will go to heaven. It means that in some extreme cases, God can give his grace to people who officially are not in the church. They belong to the Catholic Church in a special way, okay? Maybe to the soul of the Catholic Church, we could say. These people could be saved, since Christ died for all, and will have all men to be saved, and to come to the knowledge of truth. Still, those who are not visibly members of the Catholic Church have many difficulties trying to save their souls without the guidance of that church, which cannot teach error, and without her sacraments, of which baptism imparts the life of God to the soul, and the other sacrament add to the sanctifying grace in the soul, take away sins, and also give other graces that enable a person to do good and avoid sin. We are speaking here about people, non-Catholic. Maybe they are born in a Protestant country, in a small village, and there is no Catholic church around. They have very good dispositions, these people. Maybe St. Thomas Aquinas says that your first moral action, or it is an act of virtue, or it is a mortal sin. If it is an act of virtue, you are given the grace of God at this moment. This is the opinion of St. Thomas Aquinas. It means that there are some people, maybe some children who are in a state of grace. If they die like that, they can go to heaven. We need to have faith to go to heaven. We need to belong to the Catholic Church. We need to have at least an implicit desire for baptism, and maybe some people have that. Now, we don't know the secret of heart. We don't know. It is why we need to bring as many people as we can to the Catholic Church, as many people as we can. It is why the Church will be missionary. We should send missionaries, and we should not say, no, let them in good faith, they will go to heaven like that. No, that's a crime. We can never be sure. And even if one day you are in the state of grace, you can lose the state of grace tomorrow. Because without the sacraments, without confession, without communion, without the teaching of the Catholic Church, we cannot remain in a state of grace for long. It's impossible. We are too weak. So it's really a must. We should be apostles, and we should preach mainly through good example. If people are of good faith, I think God will give them the chance of conversion. God will never deny this grace to people. God is giving a chance to everybody. Even if you live in the Amazonian forest, God will not forget you. He can even send you an angel. He did it to Cornelius. He did it to the eunuch of the Queen of Ethiopia in the Acts of the Apostle, you remember? When there are not enough priests at disposition, God sends angels. And I'm sure He does it sometimes. We have so many stories of missionaries telling us that I went in a village and I saw an old man in a house. We had never come here before, and the man told me, I was waiting for you. How can you explain that? God is there. So, but let us be convinced again that there is only one church and we should be apostles. And when we stop to be apostles because we believe in so-called religious liberty, all the religions are good, we are closing the door of heaven to many people. If you have some questions, I will be happy to answer them after the Mass. It is time to go for the High Mass now. Let us pray.